All right. So, hello everyone. Hi, Stefi.
Hello.
It's Simon here from Aquabatics, and we're checking in with a live interview with Stefi Van Wyk from MKC, one of my favourite paddling people around. So, just a little bit of background before we get stuck into this sort of all things kayak instruction in Canada right now is that I first first met Steffi a couple of years ago when I was out there as an employee, actually, and I was running an instructor course out there with MKC, and sort of showed up to MKC, knew Katrina, knew Steffi's sister, and sort of rolled up and met Steffi and met with a really large hug and felt very welcome right off the bat. So it was obviously a really positive first experience, and so I'd been to MKC one time before and met Claudia and Dirk and Katrina and the crew. And so going back a second time as an employee and feeling as welcome as I did, it was really kind of a neat experience. And then sort of watching from afar over a week and seeing how the center operated and the paddling that they had available on site and everything was pretty world class. It was pretty awesome. And they fed me really well. So I think I left fatter than I arrived. Which I'm sure is probably a standard for the operation there, which is great. And so the reason that I reached out to Steffi is, obviously we run a kayak program here out in Western Canada, and Steffi and her crew out there are running a fantastic program out there. Is that given everything that's going on, we won't say the C word right now, but given everything that's going on right now, I think small businesses are having to think big picture, and I think working together at this stage is going to be our best strategy. And I think for me personally, highlighting a great operation like MKC is running out there is going to be great, because at some point, and hopefully in the not too distant future, this is going to pass to
Yeah.
some degree, and I think we're all going to be itching to get out on the water, and I think local is going to be the flavor of the month for the next little while, whether it's enforced or not. So without further ado, I would hi Steph. How's how's life? How's things going out there on the eastern side of the country?
The eastern side of the country. Well, I can talk about a lot of things. The weather apparently is different than the west of the side of the country. It's
Yes.
warm here, which is really nice. The rivers are flowing and ready and calling our names, and we're sadly not able to get to them. And yeah, other than that, like just, struggling through unknown and really trying to be at peace with an unknown.
Yeah.
It's a big practice, like just a good challenge. And I think, yeah, having as much compassion as I can for everybody that's having a hard time right now.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of people having a hard time, and it's easy for
Everybody is that's the thing, is like there's no one who's not being challenged by this right now.
yeah. And so I think, yeah, it's easy for us, I think, and I've definitely gone through swings and roundabouts with this, where you kind of get down in the dumps about your own situation, and then you sort of have to look big picture at the whole thing, and it's overwhelming how large it all is, right? So segueing into a very important question here, I think, is that where exactly are you right now in the world?
Ooh,
And
good.
on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you couldn't be in a worse place to be hunkered down, 10 being you're in the best place imaginable to be hunkered down, where are you and where do you sit on that scale?
Great question. I am in my childhood home with my parents, and it's just the three of us living in here. And so it's hard to put a number on things because there's like a lot of pros, a lot of cons, maybe. We're in the city, which isn't my favorite place to be, especially if we're stuck inside, which is not my favorite place today. It's like a challenge for me to be inside for a long period of time. But I'm with my parents, which is nice. And um, our uh, our office, like our organization's office, is in my parents' house. So
Right.
that's really convenient. Like I am able to access like all the logistical concerns, like our server and all the files. I have them all here, so without needing to leave the house. Um, So if I had to put a number on things, like I'm going to go the good old fashioned 75.
7.5. That's pretty good. I'd
Yeah.
go with that. That I think that's solid. So where would a 10 be? If you could have like foreseen this, like most of us would have liked to have foreseen this. If you could have foreseen this, where would you be hunkering down right now? What would be a 10?
So I was thinking about this when things started getting dire. The year before I was on the Grand Canyon, and it was my permit. So it was all of my really close, my people that I love the most in my life. And I was thinking about how if I could be fully prepared for a long-term expedition with all my loved ones on a river that is well within like our safety bubble conception or challenge zone, whatever. That would definitely be, doesn't have to be the Grand Canyon. It could be any river, but the Grand Canyon just happens to have pretty consistently fantastic weather. So that's good.
Yeah, that would be good, eh? That would be good. For me personally, we have friends who retired recently and they bought a place in the Bahamas.
Oh, yeah.
So when this first started kicking off, my buddy Jason, if you're listening to this, hi Jason. Jason retired and sold his business 6 or 8 or 12 months ago or whatever it was. So really good timing to sell a business.
Yeah.
Not so much for the person who bought it.
Right.
But he's hunkered down with his wife and his young son on a beach in the Bahamas, and he sent me some photos of their version of social distancing and self-isolating, and it was rather enviable. So
and
that would be
all the rules and having a blast.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. On isolate, it's like talking to my parents about it as well. They're like, it really hasn't changed for us. We go for a walk every day. We come home. We talk to you more on Facebook because you're more stressed out. So there's positives there as well. So you said you're staying with mum and dad at the moment. You're at mum and dad's house. So Claudia and Dirk, they're quite well known in the paddling world. They've been around for a long time. So
we have.
I think for many people, you have a voracious fan base at MKC. People who come back not only as clients but also as instructors. That was one of the things that struck me, is that you have instructors who have been working for you since probably when you were a kid, I would imagine.
Oh my God, even before. Yeah.
Keep coming back, right? And so give us a little bit of history about it. Give those who don't know Claudia and Dirk, give them a bit of color, and I'll chuck in some questions as we go. But it's quite a remarkable family, and it's quite a remarkable operation. I'd love to try and give those who don't know it a little bit of insight and color into what makes MKC tick and what's made it tick for the last 49 years, right? It's like 49 years old.
49 years old. Okay, well, it's quite a unique place, and so that it goes without saying that the people who run it are going to be unique people. They are hands down the most hardworking people that I've ever met. And so that's pretty fantastic. Is my internet being okay, Simon?
It's great. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. My mom is so passionate about the paddling community. She is somebody who wants to give back to what's given her identity and her character and her passion in her life. And so she wants to make sure that everybody gets affected by the whitewater paddling world in the best way possible. So she's just like this very bubbly, extremely positive, but highly high quality standard. Where'd you go? I can't see your face. Can I see you? Host has joined the broadcast.
I'm back. Sorry, my internet went wonky there. Carry on, as you
were. Claudia, you can't, there's been, so my grandparents started Madawaska Canoe Center in 1972. Okay. My mom was 10. My mom's been running MKC since she was 20. So there's 30 years of 40 years of employees who have had my mom as a boss. And so there's just so many people who have an incredibly close relationship with mom, at a point like all the staff, like we're all in this huge pivotal moment in our lives. And so I grew up with people telling me that like Claudia was just this huge influential character. And at the time, you know, she's such a hard ass. She's such a, you know, high quality standard boss. But like grew them into the people that they are today, that they're very appreciative that, you know, like she tells it like it is. She doesn't beat around the bush.
She does.
Yeah, exactly. The thing though is she gives you feedback because she believes that you can get there, right? She's so infinitely supportive, and I'm so grateful because she's like that for me too. She's just, you know, hard on me, but she wants me to be the best I can because she wants MKC to be the best that it can.
She's the matriarch of Canadian paddling. That's how I would best sum Claudia up.
Giddy about that title.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're there, Claudia, you've earned it.
It's distracting. I'm in the basement.
All right, there you go. And then Dad, Dirk. So he's sort of the quiet. He's the quiet. I don't know. For me, my experience with Dirk, I had a chat with him this morning, which was fantastic. He's just a guy, doesn't say a lot, but when he talks, I feel like people want to listen.
Yeah.
And he's like a Viking as well. So I kind of feel like people want to listen to him just for that reason alone.
Yeah, he's good. He works so hard and loves working hard. So I think that that's really inspiring for people. People love working with him. I love working with him. I'm so glad that I have a father who is Dirk Van Wyk.
Yeah.
He's stoic. He has a lot of clout. Like he's just been around so long and knows how. I'm so grateful that I have parents that have been around for so long, especially in a turmoil time, because they've been through a lot of turmoil. Obviously nothing to this extent, but they can have a level head through a huge challenge because they know that it's not forever. Yeah. But anyways, back to Dad. What do I say about Dirk? I don't know. He like knows how to do everything. He's taught himself how to build. Like he started a rafting company when he was 20 years old, and just like you look around at Madawaska Canoe Center and you're like, okay, my grandparents built that section, but then like everything from here on over, like Dad physically built himself while running a rafting and a paddling school. Like, okay, not that many people can get that many things done in a lifetime.
No, he seems like one of those guys doesn't do a lot of sitting still, and he's ultra handy as well. Like I'm super envious of people like that because anyone who knows me, I can't hammer two pieces of wood together, man. I see people like Dirk and like he's good at business and he's a good dad and I'm like, oh man, how do you live up to that stuff?
Being in quarantine with him right now, he's
dude,
a huge challenge for him to not be productive. I mean, he's still like, pretty much renovating the house from the inside out, but it's cool. He watched his first Netflix show. I'm like,
what is it? What was his first Netflix show? How did he go to the dark side?
Someone recommended Outlander to him.
Oh no, really? I got tricked. Okay, this is totally off topic, but I got tricked into watching that. I'm a real history dork. Like I love World War I, World War II history and that. And someone told me that Outlander was this like super cool historical thing. It's a damn love story.
It's a total love story.
Total love story.
Well, like erotic fiction, yes.
Yes, yeah. Wouldn't have been my first guess for Dirk, but attaboy. Good job. Welcome to the dark side, mate. So that's a super tangent, and this is probably how this is going to go. So hopefully it's working.
Bring it on.
All right, so MKC has been around for 49 years, has this voracious following from guests and instructors alike. Claudia is this larger-than-life character. Dirk is behind the scenes just making things tick, and he's running Owl. And
don't get me wrong, both of them make a tick.
They
both work
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Katrina. Here, I'm just gonna bring something up here. Stefi's sister is making. Yeah, that's a good. Thanks, Katrina. Much appreciated. They are such hard workers, and so all right. again, a little bit of color and context. I'm addicted to context. So when I first paddled with Stefi, we were on this L3I3. Many people know Katrina, her sister, as this super rowdy class 5 paddler and everything, and you have a preconceived idea. And we came into it, and for anyone who hasn't paddled with Stefi, paddles a canoe like a boss, paddles a kayak like a boss, really comfortable on the water, but definitely had some confidence issues along the way. And so talk about that, like growing up in such a paddling centric family. How did you get into it, and what was your experience with learning to paddle, and where you're at now?
Yeah, great question. I don't think I would have ever gotten into whitewater if I wasn't born into it. So that's an interesting thing to know about myself. Yeah. But I love it. Like, it's my favorite thing. I love whitewater and everything about it. So that's an interesting, like, oh wow, like I am here because of my family, and I wouldn't, because I feel like the people who pursue whitewater, at least whitewater kayaking, I maybe would have gotten into whitewater canoeing in an expedition way, but I don't know. Anyways, I hated it at the first like 12, 15 years that I did it. I got into a kayak first when I was little 6, and it's overwhelming for a kid to be in floating on water. The water's moving, my boat's moving, there's people that are watching me, like there's so many things going on.
Yeah.
And I think also it was introduced to me in a competitive way, and I've never really been that competitive.
Right.
And so I have like pretty strong memories of being coached through a slalom course, like race day, because I did slalom and I hated it, but I did it because I didn't really know what else to do. And like everyone gets coached through, like, okay, you're gonna like deke up here and you're gonna do this stroke and this stroke to get fastest over to this gate. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, but I'm just not gonna not do that gate because it is way too close to that wave, and I'm not going anywhere close to that wave. So yeah, pretty funny.
So you basically had a hate relationship with it to start with, and somehow it sort of blossomed into a lifelong passion. And you're running MKC now, so yeah. Really that'd be a struggle if it wasn't. Perhaps offline you and I can talk, because I think I have 3 kids they all started at the same age, like 6 years old, with varying levels of interest and comfort and that kind of thing. So there's maybe some stuff I could learn from your
thoughts on your experience. Kids, for sure. Well, first of all, you just need to like be game focused. It's all about making a game and not scary at all. Like, you don't want to make them fear at all. But anyways, what I was kind of saying that I don't like adrenaline. Like, I still don't. So I think that's why I hated it at the time, is that I didn't have folks in the paddling world that were on the same page of me as like, I don't like adrenaline, because a lot of people who paddle and really enjoy adrenaline. So I'm weird in that way. So I fell in love with the whitewater through canoe tripping.
Cool.
Yeah. And so I totally thought that I was rebelling against the whole kayaking world. Well, I kind of was, but in my own internally whitewater way.
Yeah.
And I started guiding canoe trips for Blackfeather, which is an amazing wilderness guiding company that guides all around, like rivers all around Canada. And I worked for them for 10 years, and they totally, like, that was my community. I didn't work for MKC for most of those years. At least 5 whole summers I was guiding canoe trips for Blackfeather.
Wow.
And then through the community there of tandem canoe tripping, a lot of my co-guides were solo canoeists, and I was like, that's cool. How do I learn how to solo canoe? And they were like, what? You grew up at a school? How do you learn how to do that? And then I was like, oh, right, my parents. I thought I was like rebelling against them. And then I learned how to solo canoe, and I loved it. And then actually through paddling a lot, solo canoeing with people, I also like got back into kayaking, but I kind of always consider myself to be a solo canoeist in a kayak.
Right.
Because I love I love kayaking with solo canoeists. I don't always love solo canoeing with kayakers because they often don't scout, and I love scouting. And then at the end of the rapid, I have to pull over and empty my boat out, and they just keep going. And like canoeists are all about like picnics and like, let's bring a thermos of tea. No jam.
That's awesome. Like I'm doing a bit of a self-deprecating panel discussion next week with a couple of with a whitewater canoeist and a canoe tripper, and they're going to educate me. They're going to educate me in the ways of the single blade. So I'm quite looking forward to that.
The ways of the single blade. It's a good way. It's a good.
Yeah, I think we might be going down that path.
You know, peace. It can be useful. It can also be super extreme. People shred the gnar with a single blade, but traditionally it is. I mean, I think you're forced to, like, with having one blade. That's how I learned how to really harness water, and that's what really connected me with understanding currents and being really precision oriented with my paddling.
Nice. Yeah, I could see that because you can't get away with as much, I wouldn't think. So here's another question. This wasn't on the list. It just came to me.
Bring it.
So the dynamic with you and Katrina growing up as far as paddling goes. Here, Katrina wanted some dirt, so let's try and find some dirt. I don't know. But like there was obviously, like when I paddled with the two of you, there was like obviously a huge amount of skill. Like both of you paddle incredibly well. Really, you know, it's very pretty to watch you guys paddle. You've been on the water your whole lives, but quite different mindsets towards it over those 10 like really pivotal sort of years where Katrina went out and traveled a lot and did a whole ton of like whitewater boating. So when you two were paddling growing up together, how was the dynamic between the two of you? Was it competitive? Was it supportive? Was it like, I don't know, maybe this is selfish. I'm trying to figure out how my kids are going to roll, but I'm just interested to understand that.
The thing that comes to mind first is that we didn't really paddle that much together. So when we were learning, yes, we were in, like, MKC has these kids kayak family programs. And now we start at the age of 8 because my parents learned that 6 was just too young. And
for sure.
Would have positive experiences, but then want, be scared one time, and kids, get really stubborn if they have one scary moment. They don't understand that the whole sport might not be really scary. Anyways, 8 is when we've started those programs. So I have memories of maybe doing with that, but I think even then, like, I had my kind of crew and she had her crew. There was a little bit of a moment before I started guiding where we were actually teaching kids kayaking together.
Oh yeah.
That was a challenge, but mostly just because it was a sister dynamic.
Yeah.
And that I'm really grateful that the trajectory of Katrina and I's relationship has been like, we used to fight a lot and we used to not get along when we like lived together and we were both in high school and in elementary school, but now we're so much closer and we have so much, like, we have mad respect for one another. I love hanging out with my sister. I love talking, like, she's one of my main people.
That's awesome.
So when we were becoming paddlers, I think you kind of nailed the nail. Is that like she raced and trained slalom. She loved slalom. And then kind of went to extreme when she realized like the competitive world was just like a little bit too toxic. And she wanted to be just hanging out on the river with her friends. So she started racing extreme, just because she liked the community better, really.
Sure, yeah.
And at the same time as that was happening and she was kind of like developing that way, I was guiding, and I think guiding canoe trips for the general population is very much risk avoiding, right? Like you're mitigating risk. You need to be aware of worst case scenario. You need to like kind of protect your people from experiencing it. So I think that she was kind of moving towards more risky things, and I was kind of moving towards like experiencing risky things, but also like being very aware of the risk and protecting people from risk. So that's kind of how, and then it was very separate. Whereas now I love paddling with her. We've had to figure it out because coming from those two directions, then coming back together again, like we were on different pages. Like she was like, well, you have the skill to do this. This is the classic thing that I experienced. You have the skill to run that rapid. Why don't you want to run that rapid? And I'm like, scary. I don't want to be scared. I don't like being scared. And so now she can understand, like, okay, this is what scares her. And it's funny, what scares me is getting my face wet.
Yeah. I do have recollections of. I'm like, it's just weird. With you, Steffi, it's just yin and yang. You watch you in a boat on class 3, and it's like, wow, this girl can paddle. And then we went to the Ottawa, and I had my crappy shoulder, and I was like sneaking everything, and you were just like, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you're one of the better paddlers I've seen in the last 10 years. And what's wrong? But it's really interesting how I
like being in control. Like, it's a really, and I totally acknowledge maybe it's a control freak in me. I don't know. But I think as soon as I am like, I am submerged or my face is wet and I can't see, I'm no longer in control, or I have that conception. Or if I have, like, if there's any chance that I might flip, and I don't flip. I don't like flipping.
It's not a thing, right?
And so that's like a lack of control. So her and I have figured out a really fantastic dynamic together about paddling. So she knows exactly what I like and what I don't like, and I love paddling with her now.
Yeah, you guys seem super tight. Like, the time I've spent with you, it's pretty cool. It's nice. I just go back to my 2 girls. I'm like, there's hope yet. There's hope yet. They'll be friends.
Oh my gosh. Like, paddling is for life, right? And people go through such an incredible, like, array of emotions around the sport, and that's something that you just need to sit with. And
you just cruise with it.
And your passion for paddling is so contagious, so there's no way that they can't fall in love with it.
They're at different levels. It's as much the interpersonal stuff that I'm hoping there's hope, because you were like, we fought when we were in high school. I'm like, oh, my girls can fight right now, and they'll come around. I'm hopeful. So that's awesome. That gives me you've done a great job of the color. Like, you've given some color to your upbringing, and a bit of color to mum and dad. You can't really get the full experience, and this is obvious without meeting Claudia and Dirk and the whole team there. But you have done a good job of painting a picture. I really dig it. So thank you. So moving on, like, we've been running kayak programs out here in Calgary in the area for 15, 16 years now, and going out and seeing a quite different experience at MKC. Give those who aren't familiar with it, like, a little bit of a rundown, like, on the programming that you offer. So what are your, what's your bread and butter as far as the programs that you offer at the moment?
Great question. Bread and butter. Well, just the general. So our philosophy is that whitewater is for everyone, and whitewater paddling is for everyone. And so with that, we have a range of programs. Hi, Karen. We have a range of programs for everybody. So if you want to fine-tune your skills as an intermediate advanced kayaker, we can accommodate folks, in a slalom-specific program, or a freestyle-specific program, or a whatever you want to work on. River running and slalom is definitely our background and our forte. Kayaking and canoeing. And then if you want to get into whitewater and you think this is the most intimidating thing and you don't think that you'd ever do it, but you like the idea of being outside and being on the water and being in a natural setting such as a river, then that's also what we offer. And the way that we make it more accessible is we have a beautiful resort. Like, I'm so grateful that, we've been here for 50 years and we've been kind of developing this gorgeous riverside resort for 50 years. And it's got good accommodations, got all levels of accommodations. You can camp if you want to camp, stay in a trailer that you have if you have a trailer. You can stay in our lodge rooms, our cabanas. We have like kind of fancy off-grid cabanas. And then the food, you kind of said at the beginning of this interview, is like, our food is world famous, and we believe that food brings people together. Food makes memories. And also, when maybe you're challenged during the day, the best way to finish, or refuel from that is good, nourishing, awesome food. And I see in comments that my pal Mika is listening in on this, and she runs our kitchen for the past 2 years, and she's fantastic.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it's a great, and even the dining room, like if nothing else, if they served me peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in that dining room, I'd be perfectly happy. Such a sweet place just to chill and hang out and everything.
Yeah, we try and kind of have like the canoe kayak like history culture in the dining room. So we've teamed up with there's a Canadian canoe museum in Peterborough, which is beautiful historical collection of boats, and so we've teamed up with them, and we have old canoes and kayaks like kind of strung to the ceiling, and all the history is all posted on the wall, and photos of MKC's last 50 years of paddling on the Madawaska River.
Yeah, it's really cool. It has a real, for me as an Australian, like coming here, going there, it had a real Canadiana kind of feel to it. It's like that log cabin kind of, you expect like there to be it's sounding like a total putz of an Australian. You expect there to be like a grizzly bear like cruising around outside. It just has that kind of vibe to it. And the programs we run tend to be a lot more localized. We have locals. One of the things with MKC is that it tends to be a longer experience. Like most of the programs that I've seen run were 5 days long, and you sort of arrive and then you're on the water for the week and you're staying on site. Whereas a lot of what we do based out of a city is we're doing shorter weekend programs and evening programs and that kind of thing. So I think the other thing that I really liked was how you guys strike the balance. You just basically have everyone sign up and then you move people into the categories that most fit them throughout the week, right? So with a lot of our programs, we have, you sign up for a beginner course or you sign up for an intermediate course. And so we actually kind of saw that model. And then in our 5-day programs that we run out here, not nearly as luxurious as yours, but we've done that and it worked really well. So that was something that we kind of, borrowed from MKC. So I thought that was a really neat way of doing it. And the other things that I was really surprised is how many canoeing courses you guys run, because we don't do canoe instruction really. It's something we're looking into, but we don't really do canoe instruction. I went out there and I was like, holy smokes, you have a lot of canoe instructors. What's the ratio kayak to canoe?
More canoe than kayak. It hasn't always been that way. I think last year was 60-40 for canoeists. For a number of reasons. We are the only whitewater canoeing school that I know of right now. The Natahela Outdoor Center in the southern U.S. Stopped their canoeing program. And there's been a lot of folks coming up from there or from the States just being like, there's nowhere else to go and we want to learn canoeing. A huge part of our canoeing folks are guests on guided northern trips with a multitude of the amazing guiding companies that run, the classic famous rivers like the Mountain River and the Nahanni. And so they come to MKC for their pre-course training experiences.
Right, I see.
Because a lot of our instructors are also guides later on in the season. So we work a lot with those organizations, and especially because I used to work as a guide up north. That's like a pretty I'm passionate about those folks, and I love talking to people who have this like dream river trip that they've been planning for years, and they want to train, or like someone like yourself, like I want to train my kids to be able to come on this river trip with me. And we make that happen. And the 5-day course, like you were saying, is just such a beautiful structure. Like it's been there since day one. It was the structure that we started with 49 years ago. My grandparents I don't know where they took it from. I think it was from ski schools that they had worked with in Germany and in the Alps.
Right.
Like 5-day kind of intensive ski schools. And I love it because people end up being a paddler at the end of, if they've never been on whitewater before, they're a whitewater paddler at the end. And they get to meet other people that's the beautiful thing about having a variety of skill during the same week, is that, let's say we have 8 classes going on at the same time. We have beginner, novice, intermediate, advanced canoeing and beginner, intermediate course happening simultaneously, and then you get to meet other folks that are obviously invested in learning this sport and that are on a variety of skill levels with you for knowledge and also for making relationships for paddling in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. Like, it's quite immersive, the whole experience, and it's, I don't know, it just feels like you just, if you go there, don't take your cell phones, just like just chill and just enjoy the place. It's really cool. So demographic wise, obviously it's going to, I feel like when I was there, I had discussions with Claudia and probably with yourself about how the demographic of people who have been visiting the resort have ebbed and flowed and changed over the years. Like, in your time there, how would you sum up the demographic of people, and where are they primarily coming from, and ages and experience and all that sort of thing? Just what's the demographic that are typically, like, obviously anyone can go there, like, it's super welcoming, but what do you see as far as that goes, demographic wise?
I mean, folks like you and me, if we weren't paddle instructors, I think is our main demographic. So for you, like a family guy, we have our family weeks, and that's a really popular program. Is bringing, and parents who are paddlers who want to bring their kids into the paddling program. That's also a cool way to do that. Our main demographic, I would say, 30 to 65, 70. We have a seniors week. People are always kind of surprised. They're like, "Oh, I'm way too old to learn how to paddle," and it's like, "No, what? No, you're not." You don't need to be. You are if you are. Like, paddling, that's the wonderful thing about paddling, is that there's a pace for everybody. You can go as extreme or as chill as you want to. Hashtag Seniors Week. And it's funny because the people who go to Seniors Week, like, people don't want to be called seniors.
No, not at all.
Technically a senior, right, is like 60, 55 plus. And so, yeah, that's a huge, I think
cool.
Folks are 55 plus. But then a lot of, we also pride ourselves on training folks to become professionals in the industry.
Yeah.
So people, from like 18, 19 years old coming in for swiftwater rescue training and wilderness first aid, and then our instructor courses as well, and or just wanting to learn a new sport. Thanks, Barb.
We'll just leave that up there. We'll let that one linger for a moment. Thanks, Barb.
That's our new branding for Seniors Week.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, those of you who know Barb will appreciate that comment a great deal.
Legend, Barb. You warm my heart.
I totally lost my train of thought there. That was great. I got it back though. So, rivers. Like, I want to discuss. I'd like to give you the opportunity to sort of discuss that. What's that?
My favorite topic, rivers.
Yeah. So the rivers that you use. So, and I'd like to do a bit of back and forwards on this, and basically like the rivers that we use and the rivers that you use and some of the differences and that kind of thing. So, what are the main runs that you use, and can you characterize them a little bit for people who might be thinking about it, like coming by and visiting you guys?
So obviously we're on the Madawaska River, and you can walk to the top and you can walk to the bottom. We use shuttles as well. And it is so dynamic. You've paddled it a few times, many times.
Yeah.
It's so great for learning because we have 7 rapids.
Yeah.
Sometimes whatever. What's considered an actual rapid, what's not, whatever. Let's call 7 rapids, and so we start at the dam usually with courses, and there's just a washout of the dam, which is a perfect place. Next rapid, cute little class 2 little first rapid to go, ends out in a big pool, and then when you go under the bridge, there's a big staircase, which is kind of a bumpy class 3 ledge, kind of got some nice holes, really good for surfing and developing surf skills. And then the next rapid after that is our most technical. It is facilitated by gates. So we have a bunch of gates hung up, or we used to have a lot of races. We used to host a lot of races on like the, whatever, my mom would be so mad, I don't know the word, but like the world competition.
World Cup. Okay.
Slalom.
Yeah.
We don't so much anymore because in Europe, they're mostly on man-made rivers. And so it's not technically considered that competitive to be like racing on a natural river anymore. They have a very different feel. But for intermediate and advanced kayakers who want to like hone their skills, our section is fantastic to be able to like develop precision technique. And then it kind of continues, and we have 2 more rapids downstream. So it's super simple, very easily accessible. There's a big trail on the river left side.
Yeah.
And so that's our main location. That is my favorite river in the whole world.
Yeah.
I love it. So it's drop pool class 2-3. We work with the Ottawa, obviously, very closely. So both channels of the Ottawa, the middle and the main, have a lot to offer. It's an hour 15 drive from the Madawaska. And so it's an easy day trip. And our sister company, Owl Rafting, is based there. So we can use their fantastic, generous shuttle assistance service.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're camping. So sometimes we offer, not sometimes, all the time we offer advanced programming, and folks may want to spend 2 days on the Madawaska, 3 days on the Ottawa, and that is what we offer as well. And then for those 3 days, folks would be staying at our Owl Rafting facilities. They have fantastic food too, and they can help us out with shuttle, and they have campgrounds and whatnot. So the Ottawa, it's very well known. It's very high volume, cushy, soft and splashy, intimidating, but soft landing is kind of how I like to explain it.
Yeah.
I'm still scared of it, and I've paddled it so many times and grew up on that river. But it's great. There's some gigantic waves in that section.
Yeah.
On the other, we're in a whole area of the Canadian Shield that has like classic Canadian Shield rivers, which are all drop pool, varying from creeky to big rivers. The Gatineau River has quite a similar feel to the Ottawa. The Rouge has gorgeous waterfall series. The Petawawa is
it's a good run. That was really kind of cool.
I love the Petawawa. It's got a whole bunch of different sections too, so that's like infinite play there. There's
and do you use the gull much?
The gull, I love the gull. So the gull is a slalom, like it was kind of built up for slalom for a lot of competitions back in the day, and it's gorgeous, like tight, technical, fast eddy lines, and very accessible as well because it kind of like turns to the right, and then there's this trail that you can walk your shuttle, which is so makes life so easy. It's
a very West Coast kind of feeling run because it's fast and shallow and steep.
Which is special for us.
It's good. It's good, and I agree on the Mad. Like I've taught all over the world. I've paddled in 30 some odd countries, and I'd say it's up there with one of the nicer teaching rivers. I took a bunch of, when I was out there working with the L3I3 crew, I always throw a curveball at people and we have them work on flat water skills, like right off the bat. So we started in flat water at the bottom of the race course there and did that for a while, and people looking at you sideways, and you progress it into that class 1 moving water, and then you can walk up the race course and you do some class 2 moves. And Eric just made a comment there saying you can make the race course a lot harder if you use the gates, and it's absolutely right. Like when the first time I went there for the Canadian, it was like a instructor trainer symposium 6 or 7 or 8 years ago. There were moves we were just trying to stitch each other up and put moves together that others couldn't make. And there was plenty of stuff that these the top instructors in Canada were some of us were able, and I'm not saying it was me, but some were able to make and others weren't. Katrina was there, and Katrina just made it look easy, so that was good. Like that's
but she's memorized every move on that river.
Yeah, I know. I feel like she could have done it all with her eyes closed, but it was great. It's a fantastic section. Like I could spend a week teaching people on that. Like class 3, 4 paddlers, you could spend a week teaching them on there, no problem. But you've got a lot of variety there, right? So it's really good.
I love teaching on the Madawaska. I love teaching on the gull. The gull intimidates me to teach intro.
Definitely.
It's
oh god,
bad consequences if something were to go wrong. But intermediate advanced paddlers, it's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's got that nice hole there too. That's like kind of rare on this, like to have it. Like
that's right. Yeah, the play feature right near the top, right, which is kind of fun. Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the Kananaskis that we use here in a lot of ways, right? The Madawaska, as far as just the can is obviously man-made. Well, it's a real river, but they put the features in. But it's just I could just teach on it every day. It's the same you'd feel about the Mad, right? Like it's pretty.
Madawaska's warm though.
Yeah. We that's right. The can never gets warm. That's right. Yeah, exactly. That's definitely one of the big differences, right? Like we will have guests in dry suits a lot of the time until end of June. The beauty that we have obviously is we have the Rockies very, very close, and so the style of paddling that we can access creeks and that sort of thing is really kind of neat. We have a home base with the Kananaskis, and then we can move out to the Elbow and the Red Deer and the Kicking Horse. Like the Kicking Horse is our big volume run, which is not really a big volume. You go to the Ottawa and it's like the Kicking Horse.
Big volume,
The Kicking Horse is a side channel of a side channel on the Ottawa when there's water in it, but it's they're quite uniquely Western Canadian rivers, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, there's definitely what I find really interesting is there's definitely some real similarities in what we have access to, but then there's some real differences. There's like nothing like the Ottawa out here.
Yeah. I mean, the cool thing, like that's the thing. Like the warm water is amazing.
Oh,
we're in t-shirts, paddling. All that.
Yeah. We tell ourselves out here that we really like cold water and we really like dry suits.
Yeah, there you go.
We're just gonna go with that.
Shop.
We're just gonna go with that. Yeah. You don't sell as many dry. You're making me sound a bit capitalist there, Stevie. You don't sell as many dry suits if your water's warm, I guess. However, given the state of the union right now, we just have a lot of dry suits. We're not selling a lot of dry suits. But that's another story entirely. Yeah. So, all right. So, quick fire question. I think I know the answer. Whitewater canoeing or whitewater kayaking?
Oh, you think you know the answer?
If you had to choose one.
Oh man, that is something. It's so funny. There's no such thing as asking me a simple question because it's never going to be a simple answer. So everybody asks me this, which I think is interesting because it kind of implies that people need an answer, that I need to know what I prefer.
Yeah.
That I have to have a preference. It's like, what do you like better? Like eating or sleeping? I don't know.
Yeah, all right. That's good. I like that.
I love them for different reasons. And I love doing them in different contexts. Like there's times that I would prefer canoeing. There's times that I prefer kayaking. I like kayaking on bigger volume rivers than I like canoeing. Yeah. I like canoeing on steeper things because I can see more because I have a higher perspective in my canoe. So, and obviously like when I want to go a distance and I want to do an overnighter, kayaking is a fun challenge, but like evidently canoes are designed for this.
That's their thing. That is their thing, right?
I'm going on an expedition that would like to be in a tandem canoe, please.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really have a preference. Teaching, I love teaching them. They're very different to teach. Like kayaking has a lot of pre stuff that you have to cover before you can really get into action. So I like the fact that in canoeing I can get people into moving water quicker, I find.
Right, yep.
You know of a way that I can get people into kayaking. I got them pretty quickly into moving water, but and then also I find canoeists like to be a little bit dorkier with what they want to learn. They like the physics behind things, whereas kayakers tend to like kind of try now, talk later, or something like that. So I love both. I love both.
Okay, cool. I have to put a couple of comments up here. This is great. So I've got to give a bit of color to this. This is going back one step. So Bernard worked for us last year, and his comment, so he lived out here. He lives in Edmonton. It's always shorty weather if you're Canadian enough. So Bernard is a sprint paddler, and he came out, started working for us, and we have a pretty high expectation of people like being, role models in the community and that kind of thing. And I got wind of it after a month or two of him working for us, that he's like doing all of his paddling in the Western Canadian spring in a bloody shorty. And yeah, I just had to take a knee on that one. I couldn't die on that hill because he wasn't having any of it. I think he might. Bernard, do you have a dry suit now? I'm not sure, but yeah, I think, didn't you have to get it cut off you when you dislocated your shoulder? I don't know. You can comment down here. But yeah, so that was a good one. And then Katrina added one of the reasons that you like canoeing over kayaking is because she needs a pillow. I'm getting older. I can kind of relate to that now. Maybe I need to.
I actually don't. She's the one that camps with a pillow. Hang on. Better girl. I got my sweater technique. You got to stuff it with your long john, hold it up, zip it up, put it upside down. So, man. You wanted some dirt, Katrina? You're the one that goes.
Yeah. There we go.
No, I'm on tea. I need my tea.
Tea.
Yes.
That's very canoe. That's very canoe. I think canoeists are more tea, and kayakers are more like double shot espresso coffee. Yeah. That's kind of my vibe on that for sure.
Yeah. There you go.
So what's your kayak and your canoe of choice at the moment?
Okay, so canoeing, I would say right now I'm very spoiled. A local boat builder and canoe builder has taken the classic Akoi, that's a solo open boat, and made it carbon.
Ooh.
And so I have a solo open canoe that's called an Ekoi because his company name is Echo Paddles.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And it's just like a work of art. It's got ash gunnels, beautifully outfitted by Mike Yee, and it just carves gorgeously and is a feather to carry.
Right.
So obviously, that's my boat of choice for canoeing.
Winning.
Kayaking, I've been trying some new boats. I love the Ripper. I love the Brap. I love the Axiom, and the only one of those that I actually own, like my boat, is a Tutea, and I love a Tutea.
Oh, okay, yeah, the Waka, right? That's the small.
Yeah, you saw that one.
Yeah.
The Tutea has like particular. I like it for particular reasons. Like when I'm nervous, it's my ship. It's my security ship. I don't have a super confidently consistent booth because I grew up on the Ottawa and the Madawaska. But anyways, it's I find the Tutea just automatically boofs if I miss it anyways.
Right.
And so it's like if I'm nervous, if I'm in my challenge zone, I'd like to be in my Tutea. Whereas if I'm playing around and working on something, it's class 2, like chill 3, then that I know, then I'd like to be in an Axiom probably.
Yeah, I'm like the biggest Axiom fangirl ever. But on saying that, I just sold my Axiom and I got a Rewind, the new Dagger Rewind.
Really?
So before mad lockdown kind of happened here, we went out and paddled that and the new Jackson Zen. So the Rewind is fun, man. It's basically the love child of an RPM and an Axiom kind of together. So it performs quite differently. But I'm pretty excited to go for a rip around in that. And the Zen was the polar opposite boat, completely opposite boat. But when you're talking about the Tutea, the Zen is much like that. It's got a nice bit of rocker in it. I think it'll auto boof and super stable. Like for MKC down the track, once we all weather this storm, that new Zen will be, I think, a nice boat. And then for the sporty, the Rewind is great too. So just I wanted to go back one quick step here. When you were talking about the rivers, people might have heard you.
Can you put my sister's latest comment up just for my ego?
You're the boof queen. No boat boofs for you. Oh, that's so sweet, Katrina. These guys are so tight. It's amazing. If this was two brothers, it would be a totally different conversation for sure. I can just imagine if my brother was on here, he'd just be giving me the gears. So that's very nice. Just going back a step, you're talking about the rivers that you use for, like that you run your programs on. So there's a website that we have partnered with a number of organizations with called paddlingmaps.com, and so it's a community-based website, so it's all just user contributed information, and a bunch of the rivers that you were talking about and all the rivers that I was talking about are all on there. And so anyone who's listening that isn't familiar with it, check it out. And if you've got some local runs or any of that, or lakes or ocean trips that you want, you can add them really quickly and easily. And we're building quite a big resource. We've got 500 plus runs in Canada and a whole bunch of other stuff around the world. So you can check out the Madawaska, you can check out the Kicking Horse, the Kananaskis, the Ottawa, and all that sort of stuff on that website. So I just wanted to pop that up there for people to have as a resource.
River knowledge.
River knowledge is very good. And so, yeah, I think what's next for MKC and at the moment, you know, like, and I'll comment a little bit on what we're doing, but what's the plan of attack moving forwards in these very uncertain times, and what would you like to say to people, you know, at the moment? I can start. How about I start, and I'll give you time to think about it a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm trying to reinvent myself as a millennial, basically. It's our plan, is doing things like this. I really struggle with social media and that kind of thing, but one of our big value statements or whatever is that connecting with people is the thing that makes us tick, I think, as a business, not like what MKC does. And when you can't physically do that, it's really challenging. And so I've been having all these conversations with people offline, and then you kind of sit back and go, man, people would probably be interested in hearing some of that stuff, and putting a little bit of a structure to it, and allowing people to get involved in conversations. And like, there's just some good chat going on here. And I think that's our strategy right now, is trying to stay there, entertain people a little bit while this is going on, knowing full well that it's going to pass at some point. And we want to still be there and support the community in Calgary, Edmonton, and around Canada. And we're super grateful, you know, this last 3 or 4 weeks since this all started, the reach out, the public reach out that we've had from long-term customers and friends has been quite humbling, right? Like, I'm not really an emotional kind of a dude, but it's definitely been some pretty, like, you know, sucker back, boy, that's pretty nice. Like, it's been pretty humbling. And so I think that's one of the positives we've taken out. But moving forwards, we're just, you know, looking at trying to still be there for people and provide information and be transparent and open and let people know what's going on. So that's my sort of long version of what we're doing. I'll pass it over to you now, because people are looking at the comments. People are a lot more interested in you, because this is about you at MKC. So go for it.
Oh, no. Yeah, I mean, I think, like, the support has been amazing, especially, like, from our guests. Like, just they want to come, and we want them here, and just reality is that we can't have them. And the same thing with our staff. Like, it's so sad. It's just so sad that we can't, like, that's my crew, that's my family, that's my friends. And we, like, I always just struggle through the winter to get to the summer to be with all my people again, guests and staff together and on the river where we all love to be. And it's hard. It really is heartbreaking to, I mean, it's hard also to say it's heartbreaking because there's so many hard things happening in the world, but it's my heartbreak right now is all these people who are planning on coming to MKC and telling them that they can't, even if that's like what I want the most. And so I think right now, I mean, your plan of action is to become a millennial. My plan of action is is compassion. It's really is support.
It's probably a better goal than mine.
Oh no, come on. Or a different like thought, a different like whatever topic. It's just what I come back to, right? Because I need something to I need something to come back to that's like consistent. This is a huge challenge. Like this is the biggest. I was thinking this today. This is the biggest challenge that I've ever lived through.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been through challenges before. And what people need to remember is what brought them through those challenges in a positive way will bring them through this challenge.
Yeah.
And so what has brought me through those challenges before is compassion, support, gratitude, and like connection to nature, connection to myself, connection to my community. And so like specific plan of actions, I think it's been almost too sad to like make a specific plan of what we can do. Like there's a lot of companies that are like, okay, we're going to do this kind of product instead of this kind of product in order to like when we're able to open, but there's still going to be social isolation, like regulations that will be able to do a paddling course while following social isolation rules. And my reaction to that is that like the essence of what we offer is the opposite of social isolation. Like we bring people together to connect to the river, to connect with friends, connect with new friends. And so, yeah, there's a lot of unknown about how we'll open when we open.
Yeah.
But we can't let go of hope. That's all we have is hope that that it'll come back and we'll be able to have amazing whitewater experiences together again soon. And in the meantime, supporting each other. And I'm so grateful for this, that you have the initiative to like just call me up and let's do this Facebook Live. I'm so grateful. It's awesome. It's fun. It's engaging, and it brings a community together that is really missing each other.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really quite interesting. And in all honesty, since this has sort of happened, I get to work, come into work, I sit in my car for 5 minutes, and I have to give myself a real talking to, because it's really quite easy right now to just go, oh, what's the point? What am I going to do? But if everyone feels like that, it's really challenging, right? And so my personal hope and I think the positive streak is just going, summer is postponed. It's not over. Summer's postponed, and for us, we're looking at, the reality is, it's changing every day, but we're probably going to be really limited, at least until the end of June. But that gives us July, August, September, maybe October. We'll see if it snows or whatever. So those of you in Calgary, those of you who are like looking at MKC, I think we're both on the same page that we're going to do everything that we possibly can.
Oh my gosh, to
help people get on the water. And in total transparency, it's as much it's a personal and a business thing for people like ourselves right now. It's really a challenging balance to try and find, because you want the doors to remain open, but you also know that people are struggling and people are suffering right now. It's not just small business owners, right? So, we want to be there, and we want these events to happen. We want our courses to run, and just trust that organizations like MKC and Aquabatics, we do need to do it for the business side of things, but it's just as important that it's for the people, and the people that have helped us build these businesses that we have, and that are such an integral part of it. Like we have customers that babysit my kids and ski with my kids. Thanks, Karen, Blaine. And probably prefer skiing with my kids over myself and my wife, which is amazing, right? And so our lives are so intertwined, and yours will be the same, so intertwined with those people that we get out on the water with. It it's so uplifting at times, and it's so depressing at times, and it's like, this is crazy, right?
It's a roller coaster.
And we know that everyone's going through it, and we empathize with all of you and everyone that's being affected by this, which is the whole world. You can't escape it. So,
and none of us know how to go through it. Nobody knows.
No.
We're mapping our own course. You know, we're all in. I love river analogies. Like we're in uncharted waters. You know.
Yeah.
So, thanks for making this happen. Aw, thanks, Tanya.
I'm just gonna put, and this is a good one too. Hang on. Oh, is it coming up?
Oh, Karen, I want to meet you.
So Karen's the person I was talking about who skis with our kids.
No.
So yeah, it's yeah, man. I wish you guys at MKC all the best, and we'll do everything that we can to support you in the coming times. And I imagine you and I will be chatting with some regularity. It's always nice to just be able to commiserate, vent, share ideas, and all that kind of thing. And I think that's
for people that are doing this, in the same boat as us.
That's right. Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do to kind of get through it. And so, yeah, I think thanks, Stefi. Thanks for your time, man, and thanks for the positive energy. It's always wonderful to chat. And thanks to everyone who's tuning in and all the great comments and everything alongside there. So it's really, that's an uplifting thing. It's going back to that, it's uplifting to see people commenting and some really nice comments there about doing something fun. So we will carry on doing it, and we will do our best to keep supporting people. So in the meantime, I guess thanks so much, Stefi. Thanks for your time, and I wish you, Claudia, Dirk, and your family and friends and your community all the best. Stay tuned with Aquabatics. We're going to be doing these a couple of times a week. We have a big online boat swap coming up on April 18th. So if you're bored and you need something to do, we're going to be interviewing Dane Jackson, and we're going to be doing some boat outfitting clinics. It's like a full day thing, and that I'm probably going to mess up, but it'll be at least partially good for some of the day.
And you're pretty good. I'm impressed. You got mad millennial skills.
It's going to be good, man. It's going to be good. So yeah, we'll just keep cranking, and I'm going to pop a little slide up here just to ease out on, and there's just some contact details and all that kind of thing.
Thanks so much, Simon. You are a star. Thanks
My
for
pleasure.
being such a positive force, and you contribute so much to the whitewater community. It's amazing.
Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for checking in. And we're going to sign out now. And later, skaters. See ya.
I don't know how to sign out. Do you know how to sign out?
I'm going to sign. Yeah, just hit the cross. Just hit the cross. I'll sign you out. Bye, Steph. Bye. Remove. There we go. All right, guys. Thanks very much.